Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Tom Beck with EdgeWave. I've redialed in, so hopefully we've lost some of that audio static that everyone was hearing. If not, please be chatty as you were before. That's very helpful. In the meantime, let's get this thing started. So welcome to How to Solve Phishing Once and For All, a new approach to protecting the inbox. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. Who we have on the call today. So again, I'm Tom Beck. I'm the MC and kind of coordinate and facilitate the conversation. But we're really lucky to have Chu Kim Isgut, our Chief Product Officer here at EdgeWave. Chu's been in cybersecurity for almost 20 years, involved in web, email, and data security. She's worked for firms like WebSense, which is now ForcePoint, TrustWave, and certainly EdgeWave. And better yet, she spent the last 18 plus months really focusing on phishing solutions, the marketplace, all the available options that you have today, right, to solve this. And she's going to give us her point of view. And right after RSA, that's a great thing. So welcome, Chu. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tom.
Sure. So let's jump right in. First of all, just a quick housekeeping check. So we've got everybody on mute here. And at the end of the session, we will do a Q&A. So as you queue up questions, please go ahead and chat them in. We'll pick and slice those after the end of the session. Are we doing okay on noise? Okay, great. So let's jump in. Appreciate it. So the agenda today, we want to talk a little bit about the phishing epidemic itself. You're all familiar with what's happening out there to some extent. Let's define it a little bit more. The security gap, which means why do we still have problems? Employees and the challenges with them, security awareness training, the pros and cons of, and IT resource constraints as we ramp up things like security awareness training, and then ultimately talk about our point of view around a solution on how you can best defend your inbox, right, in today's day and age. So in terms of starting right up with a conversation, we talk about this concept of a phishing epidemic, and Chu, I mean, what does that really mean? Is there really a phishing epidemic today?
I wish there really wasn't, right? But the reality is, it continues to get worse. So, in 2017, the FBI actually reported the cost of phishing attacks has reached over $500 million to U.S. businesses alone per year, not in total, right? So the cost of this, the impact is continuing to increase. The cost of remediation is up to $1.8 million for larger enterprises, and we're going to talk a little later on the impact to even SMBs and how it's a very material cost for really any enterprise who has to mitigate and remediate a phishing attack. And we just continue to see this phishing as an entry point for these data breaches, right? Once the breach has occurred, it's not just about financial gain, but it really is around the damage to the brand and the business. And these attacks have become clever enough to, incorporate themselves into a lot of different areas. In fact, some of the trends that we've seen around this is, as you know, a lot of ransomware attacks begin as a phishing attack, right? So that's where that starts and then, obviously, kind of compounds itself, right, into something that's into, more nefarious type of attack. And also, we see from a phishing perspective, invoicing as being a very interesting angle, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of these phishing attacks coming in, even our own Mesa Systems, who was a case study we highlighted in last month's webinar, talked about this, where their employees would get phishing attacks specifically around invoicing, requesting money, and would fall for them. So it's becoming a topic of choice for everyone, especially at RSA, where the security awareness, phishing, human factor security were just top of mind for everyone.
Yeah, we saw a lot of mention of human factor security at RSA, and just to springboard off of what you've already started here, so $5 billion plus estimated costs in ransomware payoffs alone in 2017, the 500 plus million Chu just mentioned, almost $3 million estimated cost for remediating a successful phishing attack. And just the idea of almost $2 million for a large enterprise and lost productivity just due to the fact of people worrying and chasing around these phishing emails, right? So the epidemic, we know that the growth of phishing is happening, even though some reports may say that it's slowing down or it's at least stabilized. we're seeing it just as an email security company, right?
Oh, we are, right? And on average, you could see 33% or more increase from 2016 to 2017 in phishing attacks and campaigns.
Right. We all probably have seen this stat or permutation of it, right? 9 out of 10 successful data breaches start with a phishing attack. In addition, according to Deloitte, 1/3 of consumers, as we talk about the brand impact that you just mentioned, are basically saying that they will not, do business with a company that suffered this kind of a breach. And Aviva is saying that 30% of customers will actually leave doing business with you, right, because of such a breach. So we know there's an epidemic. We know there's major damage out there. That's why we're all on the phone today, right? So let's continue to talk about some of these headwinds. So in bridging the security gap, Chu, what is the security gap and why is that of import to us?
So the security gap is really looking at what are the current security solutions that we have today, right? I mean, they've come a long way, right? It's still critically important to have layered security approach, but the gap still exists because really when it comes to human factor security, we haven't answered that question yet. We haven't solved that problem. You're going to hear about this quite a bit. Really 77% of ransomware, starting with a phishing attack, still bypass companies' email filtering solutions, right? I mean, that is just a huge percentage.
Right.
And, you mentioned this. We're in the email security business, right?
Yeah.
So we see it. We see it from a competitive landscape. We see, some of the gaps that, even our world-class, award-winning technology still has. And it's because these real-time, tip-of-the-spear, right, socially engineered, targeted attacks can still morph themselves, in a very quick amount of time to be able to bypass some of our security systems. Now, we learn and evolve, right, and we get better at it, but it still happens. And let me just add another point to this and break this down a little bit. But if you look at all-in-one solutions like next-gen firewalls, UTMs, or even integrated security with Office 365, they do just enough, right? They do just enough security, but they're still challenged in protecting those socially engineered phishing attacks. I scour the landscape all the time, and so I see what the other solutions are providing and what they claim to do, and it's just really difficult for them to be able to get those real-time attacks. Yeah,
and again at RSA, we just heard from so many different people attending the event that, as you see here, an example right on a survey on ransomware that, as Chu mentioned, 100% bypass the antivirus, 95% of attacks bypass the firewall, 77% bypass the email filtering. I mean, and we'll even sum up this in a couple more slides on the true damage even past after security awareness training. So it's really prevalent. What we want to do real quickly now is just check your pulse, but do a quick poll, right? And we'll add this together at the end and show you some of these results. But we'd love to have you guys dive in real quickly here and tell us how many suspicious emails do you estimate are getting past your current defenses and are being forwarded by users to your IT or security department, right? So if you could just drop into the poll and let us know. You may not know the exact number. I mean, educated guesses count. We love getting this data because we see our own data from our customers with our email security filters, and we love to compare that with other folks out there. So take a minute and go ahead and answer the poll, and we will go ahead and push that poll result out when we get a chance here. Our magic mavens in the webinar back room are saying that the poll is having difficulty. So if you can chat your answers, that would be great. If you could type your answer into the chat box, that would be great. Appreciate your help on that. So Chu, when we talk about, this concept of how many of these are being forwarded, right, to IT to be investigated, why is that important? I mean, just to kind of prelude to what's coming up.
Well, that actually you start evaluating, the workload, right, that's needed behind the scenes on the IT perspective as to how do you mitigate or remediate these attacks or even suspicious emails before it even is deemed to be an actual attack. Is this suspicious? Is this not? Let me go ahead and forward it over. Think about the volume of emails that your IT department will be getting to review that. And we know from customers today that it's daunting, right?
Yeah.
There are, for larger enterprises, there are designated people who spend 3 to 4 hours every morning when they come in, and this is no joke and no made up fact, that they have to review forwarded phishing emails or potentially phishing emails every morning for 2 to 4 hours.
Wow.
That's how they start their morning, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk some more about the cost of that as we go. So we'll come back and we'll tally up some of those results and give you guys some trending on that poll. So let's move forward. I appreciate it. So the weakest link, I mean, that's a bad word, right? We love our employees. They're our greatest assets. But talk about this concept of, employees and why we think of them as a link to not goodness.
Right. Well, unfortunately, today, without a doubt, they are the weakest link, right? We haven't armed them with a tool to help defend themselves, let alone help defend the company and the organization. So they're still doing stupid things by clicking on emails and links. 1 in 14 employees still get tricked into clicking links, right? Many of those continue to get duped again, right? And so not only did they fall for one time, but hell, let's just fall for it again.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right? While you're at it. Oh, and my favorite is 78% of surveyed participants said they understood the risk, so it was really clear to them, right? But they went ahead and clicked anyway. I mean, who does that, right? That's the guy who decides to drink the sour milk in the fridge just to check that it's sour, right?
That's why security awareness training has blossomed so as much as it has, right, over the last couple of years.
No, it's definitely true. But but I think there are means, there are ways to arm the employees, right, and give them a tool so that if it does reach their inbox, don't let them do the guesswork. Don't put that burden on them, right? Awareness training is needed. It's great. There is definitely a benefit of it, and we will talk about that. But you've got to give them a way to actually resolve that problem.
It's a great segue, right? So security awareness. I'm sure everyone on the phone has heard of this. If you have not, it's basically a combination of education and testing protocols that allow you to create more awareness with your end users around phishing attacks, what they look like, how to spot them, what to do with them, right? And there's a lot of companies that are propping up. Again, RSA was full of new folks that are out doing behavioral training around security awareness, right? And people think and understand this last mile of the employee and enabling the employee is key to this. Is security training the answer, or security awareness training?
Well, I think it's a good step one, right? And here's the thing, right? It definitely has benefits. It can increase the awareness, right? And educate users who just don't know, right? That you're starting from scratch, from zero, and they just don't know.
Hey guys, we just had some sort of an alien attack on the phone on our end anyway. Let's continue.
All right. So the training, the education, right? Being able to simulate and find out who's clicking, who's not, right? But there are challenges to sustaining a program like this, right? First of all, it doesn't actually fix the problem.
Right.
You may get a temporary relief from security awareness, but it's incredibly hard to sustain for especially an IT organization who was not born and bred to be, LMS and learning management specialists, right? They're IT security practitioners, right? That's their sweet spot. Secondly, we've seen that while the initial benefit, you might see a 15 to 20%, reduction, it pops back up, right? By the end of that year, it pops back up.
After the 12 months.
It does. And then you think about leavers and joiners, right? You have new folks coming in all the time. You have people leaving and new folks coming in, right? You've got to re-educate them. So it's a challenging process and again, it still doesn't remediate the actual attack in your inbox, right? The actual phishing email. You just hope and pray that, the folks have learned enough not to click and open the emails. But guess what? They're still forwarding those over to IT, right?
Yeah,
so you haven't resolved that problem either, right? So you've not reduced the burden at IT's level in any way. In fact, in some cases, we've found that the awareness has actually cost more, right?
Yeah, we've seen a
More
lot of
workload.
customers that they're getting trigger happy with security awareness training, where everybody's clicking
Right.
everything so that they're not called out as missing something, right? Which
Right.
again increases that remediation resource task. So
Sure.
I think as an interesting support, so if you recall the slide a few slides back, we talked about 100%, 95%, 77%. 33% in that same survey of ransomware attacks were successful, even though the company had conducted, SA training, right? So we're not, I think our position here at EdgeWave is that it's a good thing to educate folks, right? But as a result of it, we're seeing more and more people saying, well, how do we leverage that new understanding across the end user base to help us fix it, right? Rather than just recognize.
Right. So, and just to come back and bring it back to RSA again, with recent events, the interesting thing is, like, we spoke with a lot of security awareness vendors, and their customers are coming back to them and saying, hey, training is great, but what's next?
Mm-hmm.
How can you help me get rid of this problem? How can you bring more to the table so that I can actually remediate and alleviate this issue for my end users? And there's not an answer there on the security awareness side, right? And they've got to team up and work with vendors that provide that, right? And we get back to that human factor security.
Right. Great. Another quick polling question. Are we ready to try this again, gang? Right. So we're going to ask you guys, how long do you estimate it typically takes your IT security desk, the folks that are actually looking at it and investigating these suspicious emails that users might be forwarding to them? Typically, how long does it take to remediate those on average? 0 to 5 minutes, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 plus. In this case, if you guys can go ahead and take a minute and give us your best estimates on that, that would be great. Thank you so much. All right, polling is up and working here. Great. Hopefully it's not run by Cambridge Analytica, but we'll give you guys a few more seconds, and then again we'll circle back and talk about some of the results that we're seeing here. And it's all leading to a point, really, which again transitions to our next discussion, which is around the cost of IT investigation, analysis, and remediation, right? So I'm going to jump into that real quick because I want to keep us moving, at a good pace. But so this cost of IT remediation, there's a number of different factors in the overall cost of phishing to business, right? But now we're focused strictly on the IT department, right, Chu? And what we've tried to do here, and this is based on, everyone, this is based on the traffic that we see across our email security gateways. And I'm going to pause real quickly for a second on a show on EdgeWave, right? So EdgeWave, we've been in business now for 15 plus years. We're leaders doing email security, web security, secure content archiving. So we have thousands of customers and millions of users that are out there using our products. We see a lot of different traffic. And we're also seeing traffic that is being submitted to IT, right, for remediation. And based on some of our research and based on some of our suppositions regarding the basic cost of IT, we're seeing some fundamental things happening. Number one, typically we see submissions by only about 25% of the users in enterprises, right, mid and large enterprises, that are actually submitting emails for investigation. That scares us, right, because there's 75% that aren't even necessarily warranting anything to be checked out. Number two, when it is sent in, we're seeing 1 to 2 days in some cases, even more or nothing at all getting back to the user saying, what happened? What's going on with that, right? IT is not able to service them back in a closed loop fashion. And number three, as we poll and discuss, we're seeing anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes as an average time to investigate and either determine, yes, it's okay, or no, we've got to dive in and do more. So as we put together a cost analysis, we're using an outline here of a company with 750 end user seats. And based on our traffic and what we see, we're saying typically we're seeing about 375 suspicious emails reported to IT every month with that size business, correct? Based on a $70 per hour estimate for in-house IT costs, and that's burdened with, there's a management layer and the people that are working in IT, a cost of roughly $50,000+ a year, right, to remediate. That's that person that you're saying is sitting every morning, right, drinking 8 cups of coffee and trying to answer all these things.
Right.
Again, we're going to compare some of the things we're hearing from you guys in the session today as far as that number, but I think it's just fascinating.
Well, and I think we can bring that up, right? So it looks like about, it's a nice even split, but about 31% of you guys say it takes 11 to 15 minutes to investigate or remediate suspicious emails on average. Then it's followed very shortly with 0 to 5%. So this is not
0 to 5
far
minutes.
it's not far removed from our own data point. But and I have to say that some of this is really conservative. We've got use cases where it can take up to an hour, right, per investigation.
And we're going to factor in the information we get from you all as well. We appreciate this as we think about our own ROI going forward for everybody, right? What it should be or shouldn't be. But it's a great discussion around there is hard cost associated with this, and this doesn't include the actual successful attack, the remediation of an actual attack, the hardware costs,
hardware re-imaging, anything that has to do.
Just people time, right? Mm-hmm. So, considering all of that, what can you do? This is the premise of the whole session today, and that is we've got these headwinds around the gap and security awareness, and does it cover it all, and IT costs. So what Chu and team have done is they've built into a platform, right, a solution that helps enable end users to help fight this battle as a unifying force against phishing. So we've introduced a product, powered by EdgeWave called ThreatTest, and we're really positioning this as the first automated closed-loop email incident response solution. So it's got speed and accuracy that lets users stop advanced phishing attacks in the inbox. Now, what does that mean? And we're going to talk about this for a little bit and give you a little bit more detail on it. ThreatTest is a simple Outlook plugin, right, that automates email threat resolution. If an attack gets past your current defenses, employees can flag any suspicious email they may see, right? Trusted or tested is what we say in the hallways around here. If it looks in any way suspicious, don't even think about it. Just submit it for a test, and it's instantly routed to our hybrid threat detection center. And Chu's going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Super quickly, that email is either verified or deleted, and we'll talk about how. And it's all really without relying on IT's help or any hassle for the end user, any worry, any bewilderment or wonderment around it. And we found that this service has really alleviated a lot of stress at both the end user level as well as at the IT level. It doesn't cut IT out of the process, but what it does do is it gives them real-time reporting so they can see and manage it, but they're not first point responders anymore, right? So what I'd like to do is I'd love to have you walk through the process a little bit. We'll give them a little more detail on that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's actually a really simple product. I mean, it's not simple to develop or do the analysis on the back end, but really...
Well, simplicity is what you were going for 12 months,
right? For the end user, right? And that's what's most important, right? Which is, so there's an employee, they notice a suspicious email. They're not sure, really. It's just anything that they're just not sure about, anything at all, right? They've got this Outlook plugin. Simply it's a button on their home screen. They just click the button, submit it, and as soon as they submit that, right, that email is now quarantined in the EdgeWave ThreatTest folder, right, and so moved out of the inbox, flagged, right, automatically routed. Then it gets routed to our hybrid threat detection center. Really, the threat detection center is really kind of our version of the lab, right, where we have both our security engines, so our machine learning, as well as our expert human team who is doing the live real-time analysis. And so it goes through that process, right? We investigate, we analyze, we sandbox, and then we come back and provide disposition. So there's two things that they get. They get a confirmation that's been submitted, so they're not wondering what happened to it.
And who gets it again? It's
and the end user gets it.
The end user gets it, yes.
That's correct. And then the end user gets the final disposition. Hey, it's safe. Feel free to go back, open the email, move forward, be productive, or it's automatically removed from the inbox because we didn't deem it malicious. And we tell them, hey, that was malicious, right? It was this email. We've already removed it for you. No need to worry about it, right? And I think that's the part, that's that like sigh of relief. Okay, I did it. It's gone. I don't have to worry about it. I can move on. And they moved on already, right? Since we already quarantined it, they're not looking at it. They're not tempted to accidentally open it. And they've been productive in the few minutes it's
Right.
taken for us to investigate that.
And what's happening with IT kind of at the base of all this too?
And IT gets that real-time reporting, right? So they can see who submitted, you know, what the disposition is. In fact, if they want to get CC and copied on the malicious ones, they can get that too. And so they're aware of what's happening right on the back end with some of these suspicious emails that are getting submitted and removed.
Very cool.
And here's just a quick view, right? I mean, this is as simple as that. You can see the plugin. They just submit it. They get a, hey, you submitted email right after that very quickly. That's almost instantaneous. And then, you know, if it's bad, clearly whoa, this email's bad. You know, we've already removed it for you, and, you know, the job is done. You know, this is a really nice complement to the security awareness training. You know, it solves that problem. The guesswork is out of their hands, and there's a lot of relief. And the feedback that we've gotten, because we've spoken with all the customers who are using ThreatTest right now, is that it works great. I mean, it was just that next layer of security they needed so that they could have some relief at the end user level.
And again, this can either come in on the back end of security awareness training, where heightened awareness is creating a lot more throughput, right, that needs to be dealt with, or it can be used in a case where you don't necessarily have the budget to do all of that stuff or curate security awareness training,
right,
to come in and employ or enable end users, right? One of the things I want you to talk about really is the hybrid threat detection center, and why it's important to have this combination of assets on socially engineered attacks, right, if you would.
Right. So, you know, I touched on this earlier, but, you know, it's not just about machine learning. You hear about AI, machine learning everywhere. It's just everyone seems to be doing some of it, not, you know, it's great. But really the importance is it's not just about automated technology through machine learning, right? That's great. Everyone has to have, and that gives you scale, the ability to respond to some of the more simplified phishing attacks and scams, you know, early, very quickly. But some of this has gotten so sophisticated, so clever, so ingenious, so believable, right? That you need human analysis to augment that and be able to review these. And I will tell you, some of those will take 20, 30 minutes for our expert team to go through. Right. They're sandboxing it. They're opening it up. They're making sure that there's no malicious content and element of that. And then we come back and give you that disposition on, you know, hey, is it good, is it bad? And you just need that layer, because they're just happening so quickly in real time that you've got to be able to have a human eye to it and understand whether or not it's real or not. And, you know, even, I mean, I don't know an executive today that hasn't gotten attacked, right?
Sure.
That or has been the butt of the attack in terms of, you know, even our own
CEO.
C-suite
is under
right?
you know, just total attack.
Right. And departmentally, HR, finance, right? They get hit quite a bit with, because they've got, you know, the keys to the money, to the dollars, right? So it's just that's the combination that's really going to make the difference.
And I think that what we're also seeing too from customers and the like, we get that IT and help desks today do a lot of this resolution, but they're not necessarily experts on phishing, analyzing, investigating, and remediating those attacks, right? Whereas our folks have that expertise, are doing it.
That's
correct.
Correct.
That's all they do.
Right.
So what I wanted to circle back with here, everyone, is that, you know, if you recall that quick ROI study that we talked about earlier, or the ROI look at expense for IT to remediate, this is with ThreatTest. It's a bit of a different story in that when we implement ThreatTest on behalf of our clients, we see that submissions go up 1.5 to 2 times from end users, meaning, again, they become much more aware, they become more active in being part of that human security factor. We now see that the wait time for their own resolution mentally, right, to move forward with work is only several minutes versus, you know, minutes, hours, or days. And now the employee knows the full status. They've got a complete loop on this. So, and best of all, I mean, while ThreatTest still improves your security profile, it's about 1/4 of the cost of using in-house remediation. Going back to the first poll, looking at this, we had almost 60% of people, right, were in the 100 to 250 emails submitted every month. And so that still carries a high cost and a high weight of IT resource, you know, on a monthly or annual basis. So we really believe that not only does ThreatTest enable that end user, it helps let IT do what IT came to work to do, right, versus managing email investigation. So I think what we want to do is just, basically talk about this once and for all concept. Once and for all, you can empower your employees to be a part of your defense, not necessarily the weakest link, that last mile gap. You can resolve phishing attacks in minutes, and it doesn't take a lot of time or even IT resources to do it, right? So that gains savings. You save money on investigation and recovery costs. You make IT's job dramatically easier. Nobody started in IT to remediate emails, suspicious emails. And then lastly, you ultimately decrease your risk of data loss, which is why we're all getting up in the morning, right? So I think we've covered really what we wanted to cover this morning, and we'd like to now basically invite you, if you'd like to see a ThreatTest demo, you're certainly welcome to go to this URL, request a demo. It's very easy, or you can even send me just an email to my email address, and I'm happy to set it up for you. What we'd like to do right now is just open it up for any kind of a Q&A. If you guys have been able to chat in some questions or whatnot, we can answer. Again, everyone's on mute, but let's see if we have any questions that we want to take here.
Okay, yeah, let's read some questions. This is a question from someone asked, do the emails that come back from ThreatTest back to the end users have an explanation of why it's a phishing attack, so they can hopefully learn to detect it in the future?
And that new voice is our own Don Lewis. Just so people know, they're like, hey, Tom, your voice changed.
Yes. Happened for the third time in my life, apparently.
If you joined our webinar series before, Don has presented in the past, so we had to make sure he joined us for this one. So thanks, Don, for that. And yes, they do get a short narrative or description of it, and it actually does tell them, what that campaign was and why it was, a bad email for them. And we're also seeing enhancement to that in our next release of the product as well. So they do get that.
Okay. Another one here says, when an email is deemed dangerous, will ThreatTest pull the messages from the email server?
That is correct. We do pull the email from the email server, so that we don't run that risk of someone else getting that email.
The same thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Don, that seems to?
Nothing yet. Let's see here. A couple more coming in right now.
All right, hang tight 1 second. A couple more coming in.
A couple questions around price, but of course that's something can be discussed on an individual basis later on, follow-up, and probably best done after a live demo, so you get a feel for what it actually looks like and how the users would interact with it.
What I would suggest, because the demo is really simple and fairly straightforward, is to set up 30 minutes demo, and if you've got any questions in more detail, we can do that for you really quickly, and so that you can get more details, ask specific questions to your environment, and then get pricing based on.
Because it varies a little bit, right, on just the size of the company.
Sure, and we want to understand what problem you're trying to solve and what your environment looks like,
right.
And then also the size of the organization.
And can you expand, just to clarify categorically, so how is this priced in terms of the pricing model, without getting into specifics?
So it is per user, per month pricing. It mimics, if some of you are current email security clients already of EdgeWave, it mimics that kind of pricing model, so that it was easy to kind of integrate for our own customers. But for those of you who are not, it's really a per mailbox, per month pricing. And terms are typically 1 year or 3 year.
Yeah.
And we can just follow up with that individual.
Yeah.
Let's see. Someone else asked, can we get a copy of the presentation? Of course, that will be available after it's done.
That's right. We will send you the recorded copy so you can take a look and enjoy it at your leisure.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah. Play it for the family.
Okay. Here's another one asking, will it work with Office 365?
It is integrated with Office 365, and our ThreatTest product works with Exchange 2013 or later, Office 365, OWA, Outlook app in mobile, so it's mobile friendly, so both, Android and iOS friendly. So it covers kind of all the major buckets in terms of how you're going to access your email.
And just as a quick note, this is Tom again, voice not changed. We've had a lot of customers say, well, why did you just bundle this into your own other EdgeWave products, right? But we wanted to do this so that everybody, regardless of the email security gateway, whatever security profile or layers that they have, they can add this to solve that last mile end user enablement question.
True, but you hit a good point there, because we do have the product as an integrated version. So we do have an integrated version for those folks who have our email security product, so that they can also enjoy the benefits of ThreatTest as well.
All right.
Okay, and then another question. So once the emails have been submitted, they're asking about, for the future, will rules be added to block these type of mails from coming in the future?
Oh, that's correct. I mean, that is done, instantaneously, right? That's part of our automated machine learning, is that it's actually taking the malicious emails that are the suspicious emails that have been submitted. We've seen them malicious. We're creating rules around those immediately and turning that around so that it benefits not just the individual who submitted or that organization, but the entire right, all our customers. So that is happening today.
I don't see any other questions.
Okay. Hey guys, you know what? I think the Q&A was great. Thank you very much for those questions. We really appreciate your time this morning. We're super excited about this again after going to RSA last week and seeing all the heat around this and still the need and requirement around it. We'd love to help you out if we can. Please keep an eye out for future webcasts. We're going to talk a little bit more specifically in the future about Microsoft 365 and some of the key challenges with that particularly and its security built in, as well as more discussions around how to best pair this with security awareness training or some semblance of a combination of these two, which we believe is the ultimate solution, right? Budgets not mattering, right? So appreciate your time again. You guys have a great day, and we'll follow up with a recorded version to you of this presentation. All right, take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.